we're continuing conversations. There's some times where you feel like you're getting somewhere. You feel a level of urgency, and then it kind of calms down, and that's whether a major league free agent or a trade. But that's just the nature of these types of conversations. So, we're staying at it, continuing to see if there's a match somewhere, and we'll remain at it, whether something happens here or somewhere else.
Are you surprised sometimes that names that aren't necessarily mainstream that are brought up by other clubs?
No, there's just different ways to shape deals. Obviously, there's some names that have maybe a little bit more name recognition because they're ranked highly on a publication. We've got our own valuation system. They have their own valuation system. Sometimes the best player in the deal is someone that's not necessarily treated as such in the in the deal that's made. So there's different ways to go about it, and you just want to make sure that the value matches up for both sides.
Crochet is obviously a very valuable piece. It could be rare for teams that have the prospect depth to maybe deal for him. Is it helpful to certainly structure you've used before of 3-team deals to maybe pull together what's a suitable package for him outside of what one team is able to really part with?
We're very open-minded. We've done three-way trades in the past, and if that's the best way to acquire the talent for your organization, you're going to do it. And we've had conversations about those types of ideas and concepts. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for anyone to be part of a three-way trade.
When you look at free agents, you also have to look at the possibility that they'll be coming in and being moved during the trade deadline. With that in mind, do you have to be that honest and open with the player, with the agent, before you can consider sitting down and talking about a deal?
Yeah, sometimes that's part of the conversation. I think in a situation like this, the most attractive thing for a lot of free agents is the opportunity to play. They know that it's kind of an inherent risk of being traded, whatever organization you're in. So in our situation, we've proven that we've taken in players, risen their value and reinvested that into the organization. That's just the nature of baseball. That's the business that we're in. And we're going to look for those opportunities.
You talked about last year being disappointing in terms of what the win-loss record ended up being. As you talk now about potentially moving some of your more talented players, how do you see next year kind of being a step forward from that disappointment?
Yeah, we've got a new coaching staff, as a whole, and we talked about it yesterday. Feel really good about the group that we have here. For us, it's definitely big picture. We do want to, take a step forward for 2025. There's different ways of doing that. Obviously, what we endured last year was very difficult for our fans, difficult for the organization. We got to take a step back and, what we've been set out to do from the beginning, and get our infrastructure stronger, make sound decisions, and bring in and develop talent to help us at the major league level, and continue to build a really competitive roster.
How tough is the situation? It's an opportunity for Will Venable, but coming in with a lot of new faces and coming off a team that lost 121 games, lost 100 the year before, and then may not be a prime contender going into this year. What do you want to see from him kind of as he develops on the job?
Well, obviously going through the interview process, Will's, he understands where we're at in the organization, and he's certainly bought into the vision, and he's a part of that vision. And really it's coaching and teaching and putting these guys in a position for success, and let the players go out there and perform and, get wins along the way. And an evaluation of a manager isn't always just wins and losses. Obviously that's a big component of it. The skill set that Will has, it's just such a wide-ranging skill set. And it's going to be really motivating for coaches to connect with our players. Will's going to have the ability to connect with these players and lead them. And the results will be there. Obviously, you want them to be there sooner rather than later. Talent is a big part of it, and that's why we're here and trying to improve our roster.
And he obviously will have time as kind of your co-pilot or whatever to imprint his style on there. It's not like just a your thing, he's going to have a broad swath of time to show what he can do.
Yeah, he's part of the future. I mean, I to get someone as talented as Will Venable as our manager, we feel very fortunate, and I feel like he's a teammate of mine. We're in this together, and I'm going to support him the best that I can. He's a guy that I think has a very bright future as a major league manager, and I think that he's going to get the best out of a lot of our players.
How much input do you want from him during this time where you're adding players, subtracting players? Even though he's new, do you want him to be a part of the equation as well as far as your acquisition of players?
Well, he's been with multiple organizations in different capacities. He's got relationships with players and staff members, so we're going to utilize his ability to whether it be gathering information or just use his experience with some of the players or what he knows from being in the dugout and being in this league for an extended amount of time. I keep on going back to the partnership. I enjoy his judgment, and he's part of he's part of the process here, and that's why we brought him in, because he's got an ability to help in a lot of different areas.
The additions you make offensively, how much is plate discipline going to play into that?
Yeah, I mean it's being able to control the zone is something that we're looking at and trying to improve, no question about that. And when you're going through the acquisition process or assessing free agents or potential trade candidates, you look at if they're an offensive player, what you look at their history, and you look at the projections and how they control the zone, their contact ability, their chase, how hard they hit the ball, where they hit the ball. All those things are ingredients for future success. Obviously, guys, generally speaking, are still developing when we bring them in here, and our development team, and which extends beyond our minor leagues and at the major league level, they're going to have an understanding of who these guys are and where they need to go.
What did you stand up to with Austin Slater when you had fun with him?
Yeah, Austin, he's obviously a right-handed bat. He hits for power. Last year wasn't one of his best years. We view this as an opportunity for him to bounce back. We do plan on adding some help in the outfield. Mike Tauchman is a guy that is going to be taking his physical shortly, and will be joining the outfield. And they make for a pretty good pair out there. Both guys that are have had success in the major leagues, and Mike had a pretty good year last year, and then just have that kind of veteran stability, I think, is going to be helpful as we head towards 2025 season.
Where does Colas fit still, if he does fit with you guys, Oscar? Because Will was saying he had a good meeting with him in person when he went on his little Florida trip there. Is he still part of your future? Do you still look at him in that picture?
Yeah, I mean, Oscar is someone that we expect to come into spring training. We'll see how he looks. Will was down there along with our some guys from our strength and conditioning team just to do our general check-ins and make sure they're on track, and we'll see what it looks like in spring training.
Tauchman and Slater are both guys who have mixed in at center before, maybe not played a full season where they're the everyday center fielder, but do you have to, when you're at least considering offers for Luis, try to consider stockpiling depth or who could mix in and play center if he does go on the move at some point?
Yeah, the versatility in both of those players or whomever we acquire is important for a lot of different reasons, and there's it's a long season, and there's changes to the roster, so that versatility being really important. Our expectation is for those two new players to play all three.
Your style of being a general manager seems really inclusive and bringing a lot of people in to help with the decision making. At any points have you said, at this point I have to establish myself, I have to let them know I'm the boss? Is that style from the 1960s? Does that still work in the 2020s?
Yeah, I like collaboration. We've got a lot of talent in the room and our organization, and I'm going to utilize that. It's certainly not a one-man show by any stretch. At the end of the day, I'm the decision maker, and I'm pretty sure they know that. But with that being said, they're part of this process, and they're part of building this. I brought them in because they're valuable in a lot of different ways. So when it comes to decision making, I'm going to take their input, but ultimately I'm the decision maker.
You brought Dominic Fletcher in on a trade last offseason. You see Slater and Tauchman kind of edging him out in terms of playing time out there in right field?
Well, Dom was great defensively. Offensively, there's some areas for growth, and he's aware of that. We sat down, many times during the season and at the end of the year, and shared some kind of final thoughts heading into the off season for him. And he's aware he needs to make some adjustments. He's had more success in the past, and although he was in the minor leagues, and obviously getting it to translate in the major leagues is easier said than done. But we believe in the talent. The defense showed up, but we need a little bit more consistency with the bat.
You mentioned the Rule 5 earlier. What's it like prepping for that, knowing that there's a lot of good success stories that come out of it? You have the first pick. What's that? A lot of debate over that, or?
Yeah, I mean, we run through our acquisition process, and there are a lot of people involved with that. Brian Bannister, head of pitching. He's someone that certainly does his digging, and we've got an R&D department, and certainly our scouts, and we try to make the best decision we can. Obviously, having the first pick, allows you to have a pick of the litter, and we're not quite there yet, but we'll be there tomorrow, and we do plan on making a selection.
Do you have the good luck chairman, Gene Watson, who has had a lot of luck with Rule 5s, and that his Kansas City past?
Yeah, he's been a part of some, whether it be Kansas City or other organizations, of selecting some players that have had lengthy, impactful major league careers. So we certainly value his input. That experience is certainly helpful when you're coming to a decision.
You mentioned Colson as someone you want to come in the spring and compete for a job. Is Caro in a similar place? Or do you feel like you maybe need to add a veteran catcher?
We're looking at, Caro obviously is a big part of our future. He's one of our top prospects, and a guy that we want to be put in a position for success. I do expect him to come into spring training and compete for a spot. With that being said, we also you want to create as much depth and protection that we can at such an important position.
If Montgomery has a good spring, is it a stretch to think that he could be the opening day shortstop, or is that a lot to put on him right now?
I don't think it's a stretch. You look at how he finished the year, August, September, and the AFL, and the momentum that he gained. He made some adjustments towards the end, and physically he's in a really good spot. He's got more looseness and aggressiveness in that swing, and it showed up. So he stays at it this offseason, which I know that he's working hard in Nashville. He'll be out in Arizona at some point this offseason, and we'll see what it looks like in spring training.
You mentioned this 2024, or 2023, 2024. What's that during the season?
Yeah, I mean, he puts together a quality at bat. He's a guy historically that has gotten on base. You look at how many pitches he averages per plate appearance, and it's something that will be a welcomed addition to our lineup.
Getting back to Montgomery, when we talked to him last, he's not shy about saying he's going to be the opening day shortstop. You like that type of grit and desire to be there right now?
I love it. I mean, I really do, and Colson's always been someone that he's not necessarily outspoken. He's very driven, and he's got an internal confidence that's real.
You guys made the decision to bring Andrew Vaughn back, to tender him a contract. What are kind of the expectations for him moving into this year, and what do you think he can be?
Well, what we saw in the final 2 months was, certainly, what we've seen in the past, and our goal with Andrew, and I know it is for himself, is to do that throughout a season. You're going to look up, and it's going to be a very, productive season for Andrew Vaughn, and help our offense go. I mean, when he's right, I mean, it's a really solid bat to have in your lineup.
Is he somebody who you see as a long-term piece, or is he someone that would maybe be in a similar category to what we're talking about with Crochet and Robert at the moment right now?
We just want to see the best version of Andrew Vaughn. We know what he's capable of doing, and he's got a track record. It's just a matter of being consistent, and we'll make that decision.
In letting Gavin go, do you see DH kind of opened up to be flexible with different guys, or do you see it as something you need to replace as far as who fills that role regularly?
At this juncture, I do like the flexibility of the DH. Obviously, that could change if there's an opportunity that just makes sense for us. You talk about a Louis Robert and some of the outfielders and infielders and catching situation. There's going to be, I think it might be wise to have that open up to get, whether it be consistent playing time, getting guys maybe off the field, so to speak, and more in a DH spot for rest their legs, so to speak. And I don't want to say a DH is an off day because it's certainly far from that, but it can help guys stay healthy and productive.
I guess related, like Brian Ramos did a little bit of outfield work down the stretch. Is that maybe an option for him in the future, or is having a DH slot kind of a way to solve the issue with him?
Yeah, we've got a lot of young players that feel like have earned the right for more at bat to the major league level, and Ramos is a guy that showed what he was capable of doing at times. Obviously, you need more consistency as his career develops, and the ability to play third base, get some at bats at DH, and potentially go to the outfield. Opens up more opportunity for the bat to develop.
Vargas
Hired
was
some coaches from winning organizations who are buying in with what you're not selling what you're doing. Are you hearing or feeling the same thing about players wanting to join up and be a part of this?
I mean, we've met with players this offseason, whether it be Zoom, even in person, here in Dallas, and players seem to really feel it. I think, ultimately they would just want, a chance to go out there and have a successful season. But we've got a lot of success stories of guys coming in here and having their best seasons, and that speaks to the infrastructure. That speaks to some of the coaches that we have and the processes that we have in place. So I think the feedback's been really strong. They you explain kind of where we were, where we're going, and just like going through the interview process, whether it be with Will or Walker or some of these other coaches, where we were a year ago to where we are now, where maybe a year ago was more ideas, where we were able to lay more of the foundation. So they weren't just theoreticals or hypotheticals. We're talking about stuff that we can actually tangibly point to. Obviously, there's still a ways to go in the building process, and I mean that beyond just talent acquisition. But a lot of these guys, and I'll say this to players and staff, I think it applies to both, that guys want to be part of building something. It can be really rewarding, and I'd like to think that they're buying in. I mean, I get a sense that they do, and they want to be a part of it. So, we feel like our future is continuing to get brighter, but we got to go out there and play and perform.
Do you meet with some players that live in the Dallas area, or isn't that what you just said?
Yeah, we play. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that actually, surprisingly, I don't know, maybe unsurprisingly, live here in Dallas, and there's some guys that have just come into town, and it's a chance to, whether it be sign the player, but also, let them, hear our story, right? Just like we're learning about them, they can learn about us, and any chance that we get to kind of share our vision, we're going to do it.
Vargas is a guy you acquired. He had a lot of versatility. It seemed like at the time, Grady, at least for one, kind of wanted him to play third base and third base only. Do you guys view him as a third baseman exclusively, or someone that can move around the diamond?
Well, I thought he showed really well at third base. Obviously, offensively, he's had more success when he was prior to the acquisition. I know that he, from a strength standpoint, he's someone that is really focused on adding strength for him in the box. There's some adjustments there. We got to get the bat going. That's first and foremost, and then positionally, there's some versatility in there. But we welcomed the defense that he brought at third base. He's got the ability to play second base, first base. He's been in the outfield a little bit. We talk about the DH, but it all starts with the bat.
Nobody enjoys the winter meetings more than your owner, Jerry Reinsdorf. How much fun is it to have him around for these? And I know you don't have a lot of time for war stories, but he's been to probably 40 of these.
Yeah, no, his experience and yeah, you said it, the stories seem to be endless. But I enjoy having him around and part of the conversations, and I think our team does as a whole, like our front office group and coaches that are in town. It's part of the enjoyment of being at the winter meetings.
Thanks, Getz.
We all silly like the mayor.